Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Stories from Real Life. I'm your host, Melvin E. Edwards. Thank you for joining me for the podcast where personal stories can have a global impact. As you heard in the intro, our guest today is Dood Woof founder Elina Panteleyeva. Elina, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So, my first question is about your last name, which I'm sure I just butchered again, even though I practiced it. But it has a beautiful Slavic ring to it. Can you tell me a little bit about your cultural background and where your family is originally from?
Yeah, so actually, I was also born in Ukraine, but my family lineage in general is from Ukraine. And then when I was 3, we immigrated to Ohio, out of all places.
Ohio.
Yeah. Most people go to New York or California. Somehow we ended up as refugees in Ohio.
That's as middle of the country as you can get.
I
That's.
know.
Did
Yeah.
you like Ohio?
Hi. I mean, yeah, it's interesting leaving and going back there. Love the Midwest. It just when you leave the Midwest and go back to Midwest, your initial thought is like, oh, this is so Midwest.
And you're in Texas now.
Yep. So now I'm in Austin. I mean, I grew up in a city. I was in Cincinnati and then went to school in Columbus. But still being in Austin, I feel like Austin is such a mosh podge of so many different people because everyone just kind of moves here. No one's from here. Versus in the Midwest, everyone is from there and lives there.
Yes, Austin is definitely a melting pot. I lived in Austin for
Yes.
5 years when I worked at the legislature. Long
Mm.
time ago, different life. So, how has your heritage shaped you in any way, especially as a business owner?
I think what's shaped the most is the fact that we're immigrants. So, in my family, I've never really seen anyone be an entrepreneur because we immigrated here. And so a big key is like finding that safety. And I feel really lucky and blessed that my parents were able to do that for our family. And so kind of this gave me the opportunity to now I'm not well yes, I need to make sure my life is good and safe and in order, but it gave me the opportunity to be an entrepreneur, which is something that they didn't really weren't able to do when they immigrated here.
So, was there a moment when you said, I have to build this company? I have to start Dood Woof?
Yeah, so 2023 got laid off from my job. And I've always had this entrepreneurial bug in me. In college, I would buy things on Craigslist and flip them on eBay. And I was like, my God, I'm making so much more money than in my internship. And this is so much more thrilling. So when I got laid off in 2023, I kind of took it as a sign from the universe that, all right, like if there's any time to start something, it'd be right now. Because I'm single, I didn't have kids. It was just me, and so I didn't know what I was going to do though. But I picked up this book, and it was related to e-commerce. And I was reading it, and I remember thinking, I think I can do this, and that's what sparked the beginning of being a business owner.
And did you have a background in pet care or product development before launching this brand?
No, not at all. I was working in tech as a project manager and I didn't have any e-commerce background, marketing, no, nothing. I had no idea what I was doing.
How long did it take you to sort of pick it up?
It took It's so gradual. So I read this book and I was like, okay, the whole premise of the book is before, and I think this is just a valuable thing for any business owner. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, but the whole premise of the book was before deciding what you're going to create, what product or what service, choose the person that you want to serve. Who's the audience that you want to serve? And then you can create 4 products for this person or a service for this person. But the key here is to whatever business you're creating, you always have that specific demographic in mind and you just try to provide value to them. Like, what do they actually need? So I knew that since I got laid off, no matter what business I started, there's only 2 ways that I could actually get traction on it, which was either through paid ads, which I was broke, so I couldn't do, or organic social media, which I had never like posted anything online really. But I looked at my dog and I was like, all right, if there's any like video that I could make or post, it'd be with my dog. And so that's when I decided, all right, I'm going to make a brand and it's going to be for doodle owners. So any dog that's mixed with a poodle. And then I just started interviewing doodle owners. I went into Facebook groups and I was like, hey, would anyone be willing to talk to me about having their doodle? I learned what people's biggest challenges were of having a doodle. I took that, I put that into ChatGPT, and we came up with our first product.
That's a cool story. So, what are some of the biggest surprises, either good or bad, that you've encountered in the early stages of Dood Woof?
E-commerce specifically is really expensive because you have to buy inventory upfront. So before you sell anything, you have to put in like thousands of dollars to buy inventory. The other thing is how important it is to build a community of people before you actually launch a product or a service or a business. My story is got laid off in March, kind of started posting on social media in May, and at the same time was creating my product. Launched the product in December 2023. But by that time, from May to December, I was able to build up a little following of some people on my email list, some people on Instagram, that when I was ready to launch the product, I knew that I had enough people to at least move some inventory, at least buy it one time. And so we had enough people on day one that we were able to trigger the Amazon algorithm and become the number one new release on Amazon. And throughout this whole entire process, like I was, asking my community and my audience, like, hey, would you be willing to test this and provide feedback? What do you think of this label design? Is this actually something you want? Like bringing them on the journey of creating our first product. And that's why I knew that I wasn't just launching a product into the abyss, hoping that somebody would buy, but creating that community. It was like the most. And then I can ask them for reviews, and now they're buying my second products and etc.
So, they were helping you build your business from the paws up.
From the paws up, exactly, yeah. And you don't have to be an expert. I never branded myself like, hey, I'm a pet expert or a doodle expert or a vet. I said I'm just a doodle owner like you. Doodles get matted easily, get tangled. And the products that exist in the market right now, they're filled with tons of chemicals and like ingredients that you can't pronounce. So this product right here, like I know this works because you all tested it, and it's made with all natural human grade ingredients. The need for the product, and we had a differentiating factor, and that's like the key formula.
Okay, I think you may have just answered this question already, but I'll ask it so we can get some more details. What makes Doodles such a unique grooming challenge compared to other breeds of dog?
So they have human like hair, and so it gets just really tangled easily. So it's hard to brush it. So our first product was the detangler spray, and now then we also have a doodle shampoo, and then we're coming out with some other products not related to grooming, but just for doodles, other unique characteristics.
Perming their hair.
No, they're very, and you have to remember like all these there's a ton of other dog breed owners that use our products. We're just specifically like I will only market to doodle owners. So like this the next thing is they're very very smart and high energy. So then our next product is helping keeping the dogs occupied during the day. Like it's like a special toy that we're creating.
Okay. So you created products specifically for curly and fluffy coats. How did you research or test what actually works?
The audience, I so at first the first step was figuring out what is different about doodle owners, and I went to Facebook groups like I mentioned, talked to people, which is always talk to people, don't just assume things. They told me what their biggest challenge of having a doodle was, decided I was going to create a detangler spray, looked what's on the market, and didn't like the ingredients. So I said, okay, I'm going to make it with all natural human grade ingredients, no silicone, etc., all the good stuff. Then we started finding manufacturers through Google, and there's another website. And then most people told me they can't make the product that I wanted, but someone, ninth page of Doodle, told me they'd work with me. And so we started creating the product. I told them some things that I wanted in it, and they sent me samples, and I would have people test it. And through building a little social media following, I would DM people, be like, hey, would you be willing to test this on your dog and give me feedback? And that's just how we built the product.
How do you balance the function of the product, the things like scent, and then safety in the products you create?
Yeah, because especially the shampoo, for example, a lot of people when they take their dog to the groomer, it comes back with, and the dog smells like super strong for days, and it smells really good. Don't get me wrong, but like our stuff, like our shampoo, for example, since it's all natural and that's what I want, it's scented with lavender essential oil. which lavender and like a low dose to make sure it's not toxic for the dog. So the thing is, lavender essential oil scent goes away faster, like dissipates. So it's a lot less, it's not as strong. So it's just something that you make a decision. Like I made a decision that for me, what's more important is that dogs have sensitive noses and I want to create a product for them that's actually healthy for them.
All right. So you're in a niche market. So how do you stay ahead of trends when your product is so specific?
I don't look at trends. I ask my customers what they want. Create good products that provide value to those customers. So there's no there's not a specific trend in that I'm following or just trying to stay ahead on.
All right. So what kind of skills or lessons from past jobs that you've had, how have they helped you in becoming a founder of a business?
So my background is in project management, which is basically, I went to school for engineering, which has um, zero zero need for what I'm doing now. Project management, honestly, being a founder, especially if you're in the beginning and you're like a single founder, is super helpful. It's a really helpful skill because you have a million pieces going on at the same time, a million things, projects like this is happening over here, and just figuring out what is the highest priority at the moment, what you need to do to move the needle forward, who you need to follow up with, things like that. I mean, that is what project management is. So you're balancing all these different priorities, trying to understand which is the highest.
What are some of the myths about entrepreneurship that you've sort of bumped up against with starting this business?
That in general, social media glorifies entrepreneurship a lot. I love being an entrepreneur, but I 1,000% I do not think this is for everyone. I think there's beauty in having a very stable 9 to 5, and social media is all about like, at least my feed is so much about being an entrepreneur is like the way to go. It's amazing. Here you are at the beach. That's not how it is, especially in the beginning. It is very rewarding because this is your baby that you're essentially growing. It's also another benefit is you're not tied to 5% raises. You're completely tied to, like, you could double your salary, you could double your business in a year, 6 months, or whatnot. But it's extremely stressful. Your whole living depends on how well your business does. It's a lot of learning. You're not going to know as a founder, you're not going to know. It's the best learning experience for better or for worse. And it's the best self-development journey because you have to figure out what are you actually going to listen to. There's a billion different ways to build a business. Which way are you actually going to go? But it is very fun at the same time.
So what's a typical workday look like for you now?
It so depends. We've grown Dood Woof, so now I have some like people on my team, which is nice, that take care of a lot of the day to day. A lot. I do try to spend a lot of my time like listening to, maybe I do not a lot of my time, but I do spend time listening to podcasts and seeing like what, I guess this is a trend I follow, not specifically for Dood Woof, but I'm always learning about what new AI tools there are and thinking about how we can automate certain processes in the business to make it easier for the employees and for me. So that's a big part of what I do. I also do a lot of product development. So right now we're creating that new product. So I was just interviewing engineers who I would like to work on that project. But in general, I wake up at 7, and then that's the only constant I have. I have a team meeting with my team at 9 a.m. And then other than that, my day is completely like, sometimes I'm working at 11 p.m. Sometimes I'm working all day. Sometimes it's a little bit more chill. It just a lot. I'm always doing something on the weekend, like work.
Okay. So your business has grown pretty fast from 0 to 7 figures in a little less than a year and a half, which is pretty impressive. But were there ever any moments when you thought about giving up that were sort of frustrating along the
But
process?
yes, so many, it's especially when in the beginning when things aren't moving. You don't have the product, you don't have the service, or you just launched and things are slow. That's the benefit of building a community, is when you launch you get sales immediately. So for me in the beginning, it was before I launched the product, it's like, I don't have any followers on Instagram, I'm posting to the abyss, this is stupid. It was at the beginning, it's all a mindset thing. So every day I had to train myself to believe in myself. I legitimately would tell myself, like, I believe in myself. I'm doing, not I have to do this, but I'm doing this. And then always making a to-do list of, if you think about, sometimes I get overwhelmed and want to quit, but what I've learned to do for myself is, yes, you have that end goal, but now break it up and every day do 1% to get to that goal. Just do something to get that will move you closer to that goal, whether it's sending an email or talking or scheduling a phone call, like simple things that are moving you towards what your end goal is. That definitely helps with the not giving up part.
That sounds a lot like podcasting.
Podcast, yeah.
A lot of the same kind of frustrations, slow, gradual progression. But
I
you
can
you believe you're developing something that's useful to people,
Mhm.
and eventually they'll catch up with you. That's what you hope.
Yeah, I think consistency is, and I'm sure you can attest to this, it's like most people, if you can be consistent over a long period of time, you will outbeat most people because most people quit. And so there's just no way that nothing will happen if you're consistent over a period of time.
I agree. So, what has been your favorite customer story or review that you've had during this journey so far?
Hmm. One that comes to mind is this lady had, granted, I know I'm not developing world changing products, but things like this is just, it means a lot to me. So, like, I get an email from this lady and she says she has cancer and she's been laying in bed and she has to take her dog, she had to take her dog to the groomer and she was really stressed because hasn't been able to get out of bed to brush him before he got to the groomer. So the dog was going to be super matted and like the groomer would have to shave him down and it'd be this whole thing. But she used our detangler spray and she was able to brush through all the tangles and mats in his hair. And she was just so grateful to have that product. So things like that, you don't need to be creating the next Apple or the next world changing products, but even just small things that serve your customer and provide value to them, that's what it's all about.
All right. So, how would you define success for you right now? And then, how do you foresee that success looking 5 years from now?
Success for me is freedom. So I one of my main value goals, however you want to say it, is having freedom. And so that in that sense, my business, this is a good question because sometimes you forget to look at where you are. And so in that sense, I feel like my business is successful for me because it gives me the freedom to live my life and live my day on my own terms. 5 years from now, we'll see what happens. I potentially, if I want to exit the company or if I want to acquire another company and just keep growing it. And also, as long as I'm having fun with the brand, I would like to keep growing it. And so I think my terms will success will change because I was trying to get to a point of security since I was broke. So that now having that security and freedom is success. But after that, we'll see what success means to me then.
And let's say you were invited to come to a conference of entrepreneurs or dog owners, whatever conference it was, you were invited to come as a speaker. What advice would you give someone who wants to launch a niche brand of any type? What specific advice would you give?
Well, this is the advice I give my clients, which is always build a community first. Choose a person, talk to them, find them on Facebook, whoever your niche audience is, figure out what they want because likely what you think they want is not what they actually want, and get a sample size of answers or maybe what challenges they have. And then take those challenges, put it into ChatGPT, and figure out what you can deliver that will provide value for them. And then just start documenting your journey on social media. Maybe it's through a newsletter, maybe it's through email, maybe it's all three. That's getting into more of the tactical piece. Having those people following you and following your journey, people love a story. So if they can follow you from zero to you launching the product, you already have buyers. And that's, if I was to do it again, I would 1,000% do that.
Okay. So that sort of leads right into my next question. So if you could go back, let's say 2 years ago, and give yourself one warning and one encouragement, what would they be?
One warning is it's gonna be an uphill battle, but it's so worth it at the top. It's so worth it if you just get through it and you're gonna just change. This is the encouragement part. This is the best self development, self growth journey you'll ever go on. You'll learn more about yourself and like your strength than any textbook, any college, any job ever will teach you.
So how much do you think you've matured in the last 2 years?
I'm not sure if matured is the right word, but I'm just a completely different person. The way that I operate, the things I care about, the way I think, and the way that I just believe in myself. I truly, by going through this process, there are times I forget, but then I remind myself like I literally can do anything if I put my mind to it, because I now have proof that I was able to do this, because it's very difficult. It was not a walk in the park, and so that just
There's a good pun. A walk in the.
there we go. Yeah, exactly. So that definitely is a benefit of being an entrepreneur, starting from nothing and growing a business.
That must be so empowering for you.
I'm just proud of myself for not giving up. It's very easy to give up, but like you mentioned, being consistent over long periods of time, that's where you can just consistency outbeats a lot.
All right, so kind of an out of left field question. If Dood Woof were a person, how would you describe its personality?
Ooh. So I would say playful, honest, transparent, a huge health nut, and
Okay, good traits there.
it's our brand personality, I would say. Brand voice.
So what's next for you and the brand? Anything exciting on the horizon?
So we're launching product 3 by the end of this year, hopefully. And then continuing to grow we're doing a big push on more influencer outreach, and just becoming my goal is that when someone gets a doodle, they know that they can go to Dood Woof and get what they need for their doodle, and just trust the brand that it's the highest quality items and this is the best brand for their dog.
Okay, just a couple questions left as we start to wind down this conversation. So can you leave us with one tip for doodle parents that they probably don't know?
Check the ingredients on the things that you use. The amounts of times where people have been like, "Oh, I use this brand." I was like, "Oh, like if you look, they say I use this brand and it's way cheaper. Why would I switch?" And I'm like, okay, well, check out the ingredients and just put them into ChatGPT and see what it says. The thing about Dood Woof is that all the ingredients you can pronounce, and yeah, it's a premium brand, so it just depends on if you care about the ingredients that you put on your dog.
Okay, and the final question today is one that I ask all of my guests. It's a very general question. What one piece of advice would you leave with the listeners on any topic?
My advice is to just get started, and you don't need to be an expert. If you get started and you do even 1% to move forward in whatever your goal is every day, you will either meet people a lot. Like the universe will bring you the right people at the right time to help grow, or you'll start seeing progress, or just things will start coming together in little pieces. And you don't need to be reading a gazillion textbooks on this topic to become a huge expert before you start. You can just get started and figure it out as you go.
That's very good advice to round off this conversation. So our guest today, and I'm going to try to say her name again, Elina Panteleyeva. Panteleyeva? Close. Can you say it for us so the audience can at least hear it one second?
Elina Panteleyeva.
Panteleyeva. Very beautiful name, by the way.
Thank you.
So thank you for being here today. I appreciate you talking about your product, and congratulations on your success so far.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Melvin.
So please go to my website at podcastreallife.com for more information about my guest and the things we discussed today, including a link to her business. That's it for today's episode of Stories from Real Life. Join us again next time for another chance to learn from each other. Until then, don't forget to shine your light wherever you go.